Greetings and salutations, friends. Just a little technical difficulties to start the show with. My one second, friends. I'm getting an echo here. There we go. Now I got rid of it. First of all, I was getting an echo, and second of all, my headphones fell apart right as I was supposed to begin tonight's broadcast. But friends, this is what happens with a live show, and if that's the worst thing that happens tonight, then I will take it. So tonight we are going to explore this thing called the vimanas, and it's really a mysterious thing. Are there truly ancient Vedic texts that describe flying machines, very advanced flying machines that are thousands of years old? And what about the sources of these stories? Friends, this one is one that bothers me. I have seen people use completely and totally factually inaccurate statements regarding these vimanas on television shows, in documentaries, in live lectures at UFO conferences. People mention vimanas all the time, and how the description of these ancient flying machines was in Vedic texts that are thousands and thousands of years old. How could they have known about flying machines 10,000 years ago? Yeah, that would be a great mystery. How could people know about flying machines 10,000 years ago? Well, friends, like many of these mysterious stories, once you begin to peel back the layers of the story and educate yourself as to their apparent source material that people are citing, and I have to say, this is one that I fell for hook, line, and sinker, because people make statements as if they are factual. People say things like, this is from a Vedic text that's 10,000 years old. But are they accurate with their source material or not? Tonight, we're going to find out. And a big shout out to Jonaside, who is in the live chat and says hello from Twitch, since I had to sign up just to follow you, Stephen. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Jonaside. And I should mention before we proceed, yesterday I said something, I was misinformed. Twitch requires 50 followers before people are allowed to throw Twitch money at me, and I think we're at 12 or something now. So there's more work to do to grow the Twitch stream so that people can throw money at me on Twitch. Just some shout outs. I see Spudwife in the live chat. William Pixley. Shout out to Sixes Design, who is here. Shout out to Paranormal Hood Live Radio. I believe that's Smoke King. Shout out to Jonaside. Shout out to Keith Heismeyer. Keith, I'm not sure that I've seen you here. Oh, yeah, I believe that I have seen you here before, but welcome. It's good to see you back. Rick von Himmlich-Spluner is here in the live chat. Plan D is here in the live chat. We have, let's see, Keltruth77 is actually on time for once. Did you get a watch, Keltruth? New clock, maybe? And another thing worthy of mention is mostly we do our streams at about 10 p.m. usually. But I decided that on Thursday, I don't want to step on my friends from Paranormal Hood. And I know one other person who I don't know very well, but I know somebody else that's doing a show on similar topics, and they're still streaming at 10 p.m. So I decided that on Thursday nights, I will push back the stream to 11 p.m. And that should continue going forward. So I wasn't sure that I wanted to have a schedule, but we will. We will be Monday through Wednesday on at 10 p.m. and Thursday on at 11 p.m. So I'm committing to at least 4 shows a week for the foreseeable future. Now, things happen. Life gets in the way. I have 2 children and a beautiful wife that sometimes require me to say, the hell with this for tonight. I have other more important things to deal with. And I'm sure all of you, especially if you too have a family, will understand that I'm I'm committing, but I'm saying, hey, I reserve the right to, take a night off if the need arises. However, I will still do 4 streams a week. I believe we have sufficient material to continue like that for some time. So back to the vimanas. I first heard about the vimanas um, in a book by David. I always get his name wrong. He was one of the stars of Ancient Aliens. David Hatcher Childress, I think his name is. And I was completely and totally hooked and fascinated. He wrote a book which heavily featured vimanas. And it was just an incredible and mysterious subject to me. How could these people 10,000 years ago make these drawings of these really crazy flying machines? And they had things that it seemed were in other portions or stories in UFO lore or mythology, like Mercury. Spinning Mercury was the power source or the cause of the anti-gravitic effect with these flying machines. Now, here is where things get, I guess, educational for those of us who are interested in finding the truth behind these stories and don't just want to hear a good story someone is telling us is true if it's not. I have an interest in Buddhism and I have an interest in Hinduism as well. So I have done things like, I was going to say read the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedic texts, but it would be more accurate to say that I really tried to get through some of these ancient Vedic texts and the Bhagavad Gita and other Hindu scriptures, ancient writings, because I'm always looking for ancient wisdom, right? Isn't it great when you get a book and there just seems to be something amazing to me about getting a book that is thousands of years old, that was written by someone thousands of years ago. It's sort of like getting a passport, your own personal time machine. See how another human, much like you, thought about things like spirituality, God or gods. It's just an interest of mine. So when I started reading the actual Vedic texts and the Bhagavad Gita, sure, there's some mention of, I would call them flying chariots that the gods had, but these were always had wheels and were propelled or driven by horses, which I suppose are flying horses because these things flew. Uh, the Perhaps the original, right, chariots of the gods. Oh, but that's a whole other show, friends. So yeah, there is some mention. There is some things in the Vedic texts about gods flying through the air on these chariots, but they bore little, if any, resemblance to these incredible mechanical looking machines that were on all these documentaries and television shows and in David Hatcher Childress' book. And I wondered why. So I began to do more research into where are they getting this stuff from, because it's not in any ancient Vedic text that I'm reading. Pardon me, friends. So, well, kind of got blurry there for a while. Yeah, I began to wonder about this. Why is it that they say that these things are in these Vedic texts and I can't find them anywhere? Do they have different Vedic texts than me? Turns out they do. Uh, so First, friends, we're short. I want to do a pretty short presentation on this tonight and leave more time for discussion of these things. And but I think this is an educational moment that we can sort of look at how do these people make these statements as if they're factual when they're not? How are things confused and conflated and mixed together to form the illusion of a true story when they're not? First, to begin our presentation, I thought I would play you an excellent introduction to vimanas, which perfectly illustrates my point about people mixing things up, people making factual statements, or people making statements as if they were factual when uh, no, their facts are completely and totally wrong. And they just say these things like they're an authority, right? Like they did their research and they have proof that what they're saying is accurate, but it's not. So I thought I would begin with a short sort of introduction to the vimanas. And this video I found, I will say this, it's very artistically done. Somebody used really nice computer generated graphics to show these flying machines flying and things like that. And this telling of the story of the vimanas goes incredibly similar to other telling of the story of the vimanas that I have seen on television, on documentaries, in UFO conferences, in books. It's very similar. So for our purposes of displaying how the story of the vimanas is usually told, I'm going to be sharing a video. We're going to be citing fair use because we are educating the public about vimanas and about how these stories get generated about these things called vimanas, these ancient flying machines. So I found this video and it's called Vimanas, Ancient Aircraft, and it's by Aircraft Technologies YouTube channel, which I thought was kind of funny that they got it so wrong, but it is what it is, friends, right? So I'm going to cite fair use. We're going to play this video. It's a pretty short video, actually. I think it's only 2 minutes and 25 seconds, but so we're going to play this video probably in its entirety, and then we will, and then I'll have a few things to unpack as we after we watch this short clip. Okay, so, and again, this is called Vimanas, Ancient Aircraft, Crystal Links. And as I recall, okay, let's go right to the beginning here. Here we go.
Vimanas, Vedic text dating back to 16,000 BC.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to stop it already. He said that vimanas were mentioned in Vedic texts dating back to 16,000 BC. There's a huge problem. So he opens the video about vimanas with a complete and total factually inaccurate statement. Friends, there are no Vedic texts that are 16,000 years old. The oldest Vedic text that I was able to find, I believe, is from 2000 BC. That would mean it would be 4,000 years old. That's the oldest Vedic text. And that one does not mention vimanas. So this person is opening a video saying that vimanas are from 16,000-year-old Vedic text. There's no such thing as a certified, verifiable 16,000-year-old Vedic text. Further, there is no written anything that is certifiable to be 16,000 years old, period. So just in the very first sentence of this video is a complete and total lie. There are no Vedic texts that are 16,000 years old. In fact, there are no written anything that we have that we can prove is 16,000 years old. The rest of this I'm not really going to interrupt because it's kind of just fun to watch with some computer generated graphics of these vimanas that are supposed to be, again, ancient flying machines that this person says were in 16,000-year-old Vedic texts, even though they weren't. But okay, let's watch the rest here.
Talks about Indian civilizations having access to flying machines called vimanas. Vaimanika shastra, a segment in the Vedic text, details about how these machines were made. It also contains instructions on the
He mentioned the vimanika shastra. That's very important, and we'll see why later. So he opens this with saying this was from a 16,000-year-old Vedic text, and then he mentions the vimanika shastra, which, from all my research efforts, the earliest record of the vimanika shastra, which is what all of these things came from, is really the 1950s. But some claim that the earliest that there was record of this book, the Vaimanika Shastra, was 1918. I don't believe it's 1918. I believe it's from the 1950s. That's my personal belief, having done a great deal of research on that book. But the important part is that these people mix up actual ancient Vedic texts with this Vaimanika Shastra, which is from either the 1918, either from 1918 or from the 1950s. Let's continue.
operation of the aircraft. In the book Technology of Gods, David Hatcher Childress explains how vimanas function with the creation of vortex with gyroscopic formation of Mercury. According to these Sanskrit texts, vimanas would have been constructed out of alloys of gold and iron. These texts describe vimanas as gleaming flying machines, often as a double-deck aircraft with portholes and a dome, much like a flying saucer.
Yes, and it's very important that you realize that it's always flying saucer people that are bringing up these vimanas. I've never heard a Hindu scholar or an Indian history professor talk about these vimanas as being real. It's only UFO people that bring these up and talk about them and their possible relation to UFOs that people see today. Here we see a depiction of these vimanas. Wow, flapping wings. Yeah, that looks real flight worthy. I just want to stop this for a moment to mention that for hundreds of years, people tried to make flying machines with flapping wings. None of them worked. None of them. But we're supposed to believe that this one does somehow. I'm just not going to buy it. And here we're seeing some of the different Vimana models. And again, every one of these is in the Vaimanika Shastra from either 1918 or the 1950s. None of these drawings are in actual ancient Vedic texts. None of them. And here we're just seeing, I guess, how he built the CGI models. I'll give him this. This is very artistically done. I like it. It looks nice. But yeah. So that's about it, friends. For that video, that's about it. Now, I don't know how else I can explain it except to say this. Every single person who talks about these vimanas always says that they're from thousands of years old Vedic texts, and they're not. They're just not. Every one of these Vimana people have made models of them. People have done computer generated, renderings of them. Every one of them is from the Vaimanika Shastra. None of them are from the actual ancient Vedic texts. None of them. And I think that's very important because we can get some education into how these sort of hoaxed fake stories take off. They take a little bit of actual history, like ancient Vedic texts. Are there ancient Vedic texts? Sure. Uh, but most of them only date back to a few thousand years BC, not 10,000 years, not 16,000 years old. And again, they make these statements as if they were factual. I disagree. I disagree that saying these are from thousands of years old Vedic texts is an accurate statement. And further, it should be known that the Vaimanika Shastra is a channeled book. Somebody channeled that book, the Vaimanika Shastra, and all those drawings. And we'll go into more detail and unpack that a little bit. But I thought it would be good if we do sort of a look into the biggest guilty party here of pushing these vimanas, and that would be Ancient Aliens, the television show, because we've got that George guy with the strange hair. He's always pushing vimanas. I can never say his last name, so forgive me, big hair, Ancient Aliens guy. George, you guys know who I'm talking about. And David Hatcher Childress is another one. He's written books on these things, claiming all kinds of claims. David Hatcher Childress also completely and totally mistranslated actual Vedic texts to just say whatever he wanted them to say to support his vimanas are ancient flying machines theories. And that is disingenuous at best, and at worst, it's very dishonest to just completely and totally destroy a translation of what may be a holy scripture to some people, depending on their religious leanings. Just completely take that and destroy that. And hey, we're going to say it says this when it doesn't say that. It's crazy that these people, they just get away with it. But I thought we could share one more. Well, really, I have two more. And if you are interested in seeing the total lack of factual evidence that Ancient Aliens presents, Drew, most of their shows are filled with fabrications, half truths, 5% truth and 95% let's make this up. There's a site called Ancient Aliens Debunked. It's excellent because it goes through Ancient Aliens stuff point by point, proving that they're so fast and loose with the facts. I was actually shocked when I first found all the evidence that of just how much Ancient Aliens lies to people. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is on the History Channel? This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy that something called the History Channel is just completely making shit up. Just completely making shit up. But that's the world we live in, friends, and you just don't even know what to believe anymore. But I thought we could play a video from this person who created the website Ancient Aliens Debunked, because he can explain some of this much better than me. I'm glad that I found his website and found the truth behind some of this stuff. And it's kind of shocking, actually, how terribly they lie to people on the show Ancient Aliens. But when you consider one of the producers was David Wilcock, it's no surprise to me that that show is filled with lies, fabrications, half-truths, and total bullshit. Consider the source. One of the producers is David Wilcock, or was, right? So, and we all know how factual his information is. So, friends, let me get this up. And for this one, I have to cite fair use. We're educating the public because History Channel, I'm told, does not like people sharing their clips and calling them out for their bullshittery. So I want to tell you, anyone from that organization, we are educating the public. We will be critiquing and criticizing you as an organization for flat out lying to people. I have that right. It's my freedom of speech to do that and to educate the public that you've been lying to them for how many Ancient Alien seasons now? Is it up to like 10, 14? I don't know how many years that show has been on. Um, I'm citing fair use. Do not copyright strike me, or I will challenge you legally. I have the right to do this. And actually, we're playing clips from ancientaliensdebunked.com, but he took the History Channel clips and put it in his own video. But still, just a fair warning to the History Channel, to Ancient Aliens producers, or whoever is involved with that. If you copyright strike me, I will legally challenge your right to do that. This is the technical definition of fair use. And we are going to share this in the spirit of fair use and educating the public. Okay. So this is titled Vimana Found in Afghanistan, Vimana Shastra Debunked. And again, the Vimana Shastra is the book that's from, the 1900s, that these people keep claiming is an ancient Vedic text when it's not. So this video is going to be a little long. We might skip
ancient
ahead.
Sanskrit texts dating back as far as 6000 BC.
6000 BC. Again, there are no Vedic texts that are 6,000 years old. There are just no Vedic texts that are 6,000 years old. There might not be written texts that are known to be 6,000 years old at all, let alone Vedic texts that mention these vimanas. Again, a completely and totally factually inaccurate statement right at the beginning of the story.
Wow, 6000 BC? Really? In reality, the oldest of these texts would be the Vedas, which date to between 500 and 1500 BC. Ancient Aliens just adds another 5,000 years, as if no one would notice. They're actually even contradicting themselves with this date, because in another episode they correctly state that the oldest writings in the world are the Sumerian tablets, the oldest of which date to about 4000 BC. So
yeah, the oldest known written anything is these Sumerian texts, 4000 BC. There's no, they contradict themselves. It's amazing.
why are they now saying that there are some writings 2000 years older than the oldest writings? I don't think anyone knows.
Describe in varying but vivid detail flying machines called vimanas.
Vimanas are aeroplanes, and they are powered by some jet engines. This seems to be true.
Just a note to say, they're not actually powered. They're not all claimed to be powered by jet engines. Some are claimed to be powered by generators. What kind of generators? Your guess is as good as mine. These drawings are nonsensical. If you take them to an aeronautics engineer, he will tell you all of these drawings wouldn't fly. They're nonsensical. They don't make any sense. You can't just, spin mercury, in a ball and make something lighter than air and float. But it is what it is. And others claim that they're jet engines because of the description, thunderous, it's like thunder coming out of these things. Well, that could easily be just a mythological text describing, again, a chariot of a god. And those chariots had wheels and were driven by flying horses. So somehow they conflate the two here. But okay.
Because all the description of the flight behavior, elephants ran away in panic. Grass was thrown out because there was a lot of pressure from behind those vimanas. So that we can say this is a description of the spaceship.
So wait, first he said first he said they were airplanes. Now he's saying it's a spaceship. Which one is it, dude? Is it a flying, is it an airplane with a jet engine, or is it a rocket ship that's a spaceship? He just said they were both in one 2 sentences. This does not make any sense.
The word vimana literally means having been measured out, and it was related to the king's palaces and was referring to their intricate construction. Later on, as a result, the word became synonymous with palaces in general, and because of that, it was used to refer to the palaces of the gods as well. And yes,
So even the word vimana does not mean flying machine. It does not. That word is related to the ornamental palaces of, the kings.
these palaces of the gods were in the heavens, and they could fly. But as we look into this, it will be clear that some of the vimanas of the gods really were huge palaces with gardens and terraces and golden staircases. Then, because the palaces of the gods flew, the word gradually became used for anything that could fly, either in mythology or in reality. So, understanding the palace concept in the development of the word vimana is helpful in understanding what we will be looking at. But before we look into the
There's a big difference between a flying palace of a god and a jet or a spacecraft. But they just conflate things. They take a word that doesn't mean what they say it means and use it to their own ends.
real descriptions of vimanas in the Vedic texts, we must first examine a fake text because
and here we go. This is going to explain the Vaimanika shastra, which is where this is the source of all of this nonsense about vimanas being ancient flying machines. And again, this was a channeled work. And again, we have here, God, I'm going to kill this person's name, Pandit Subaraya Sastri. Okay? Channeled this. This is all channeled. So the vimanas that we see on Ancient Aliens, or is it Maharishi Bhattacharya's Vaimanika Shastra, or Science of Aeronautics? Yeah. And there are various descriptions that this is from 1954, the first mention of this. So every time one of these idiots on Ancient Aliens says that these vimanas are from ancient Vedic text, they're completely and totally wrong. We can show you, I have the PDF of this. We can show you the drawings of everything that they're showing on Ancient Aliens is in this book, this channeled work from the 1950s. I will give them, some people claim, without evidence or proof that I have been able to locate, that it's from 1918. I don't believe that. I believe it is from the 1950s. In 1918, the science of airplanes was way too young, and the science of any kind of flying machines was in its infancy. So I'm more apt to believe that it came from the 1950s. But here we'll hear an explanation about this book and how they conflate this book with actual ancient Vedic texts.
almost everything that Ancient Aliens says about vimanas comes from a totally bogus text called the Vaimanika Shastra.
Although mainstream historians believe the Vimana texts are myths, many of the documents contain passages that seem to describe modern machinery and technology.
The Vaimanika Shastra goes into metals that are used in these craft. It talks about electricity and power sources. It talks about the pilots and the clothing they have to wear. It talks about the food that they eat. It talks even about the weapons that are kept on these airships.
And it indeed does talk about some of those things, but it's a book from the 1950s, or maybe at the earliest, if you believe some people, 1918.
The flight manuals of the Vimanas are quite similar to the flight manuals you find in the modern passenger flight business, or when you go to the military jet engines. Of course, they have also flight manuals because it's necessary for a pilot to get knowledge about his plane he wanted to fly with.
Yes, so there is a flight manuals for aircraft that most aeronautical engineers would look at and say, this won't fly. But okay, there's flight manuals for these things included in this bogus book.
The Vaimanika Shastra is not an actual ancient text. It was channeled or dictated to the author from the spirit world in 1918.
Okay, so
The
he says
spirit who
1918
supposedly
as well.
dictated the text claimed to be an ancient seer named Bharadvata, who is prominent in some ancient writings. So I guess that's what's supposed to give this text credibility. That is, the idea that the ghost of someone ancient supposedly dictated it. But they're not even sure that version of the story is true, because the first mention of any of this is in 1952 by the guy who supposedly found and translated the text from 1918. So, as far as anyone knows, he could have made the whole channeled by a famous ghost story up in 1952. The text
Yeah,
itself.
and I'm not able to find any proof that this book was available or at all talked about in 1918. The first mention of the book that I find is in the 1950s. So I agree with this gentleman here from ancientaliensdebunked.com in that the person that translated to English and sold the book, of course, there's money involved with this fake book, may have just made up the story about it being channeled in 1918. I can't find a book that the book was available for purchase until later in the 1950s.
Reads like a technical manual describing the details of how vimanas operated. It includes the description of what must have sounded like a really technical idea in 1918 or 1952 called a mercury vortex engine. Ancient Alien spends a huge amount of time talking about this idea.
The Vaimanika Shastra, or science of aeronautics, indicates vimanas used a propulsion system.
And here they're showing something that's not. This is not in the Vaimanika Shastra, but they're showing this as if it is in the Vaimanika Shastra. Again, just fast and loose with the facts. Throw in a picture of a flying saucer. Say it's from the Vaimanika Shastra. It's not.
Based on a combination of gyroscopes, electricity, and mercury. Is this possible?
Mercury is an
And
unusual.
again, this is another illustration that I do not believe is in the Vaimanika Shastra.
Element. Mercury is metal. It's also a liquid, and it's a conductor of electricity.
The Vaimanika Shastra suggests vimanas were powered by several gyroscopes placed inside a sealed liquid mercury vortex.
And it's interesting that, you know what else used a sealed liquid mercury vortex engine was the Nazi bell. I don't think that's a coincidence, but it is what it is. So you got to pull in some UFO, already accepted UFO mythology into your, story you're trying to sell.
One of the texts talks about Mercury rotating and driving some sort of a powerful wind or a windmill effect.
And again, none of this is in the actual Vaimanika Shastra. This is just some illustration that they're showing on the screen. Again, they're mixing all these different data points that have nothing to do with each other. This has nothing to do with the Vaimanika Shastra and the information that it presents. It's just looks good. Let's put this up on the screen.
That might be some sort of what we call a flywheel energy storage, where you have a spinning disc and then you extract energy from it slowly. That would be the
Again,
mercury.
that's not in the book either.
And then that could be used to drive some sort of a propeller or what we call a ducted fan.
Some of the other things that this text describes are equally scientific sounding. It even includes very technical drawings of the things that it's talking about. But when you look closer at all this, it becomes...
Does that look like, I don't know, does that look like something that would actually fly, this thing right here? I don't know, friends. I don't know.
Becomes obvious that it is physically impossible for any of these craft to get off the ground. In fact, 20 years later, in 1974, a study was done on the texts and the drawings by the Aeronautical and Mechanical Institute of Science in Bangalore, India. I will quote Will Hunt, an American freelance writer based in India, for a description of how that study came out.
Every single engineer that has looked at these drawings, every single aeronautical engineer or expert or aircraft expert that has looked at these drawings, every one of them have said, this wouldn't fly. This is garbage. But it is what it is.
Quote, as thoroughly as it had been written, the committee just as thoroughly dismantled the study in an essay called A Critical Study of the Work of Vaimanika Shastra. They question whether the author, whoever that may have been, had any grasp of basic physics, chemistry, and electricity, not to mention the, quote, disciplines of aeronautics, aerodynamics, aeronautical structures, propulsive devices, materials, and metallurgy. Their conclusion, quote, none of the planes has properties or capabilities of being flown. The geometries are unimaginably horrendous from the point of view of flying, and the principles of
It's important that we remember this craft, because we're going to show another clip that's just hysterical from Ancient Aliens. Remember that top one, friends.
propulsion make them resist rather than assist flying. Another writer, J.B. Hare, writing for the Sacred Text Archive, said the following of the craft in the Vaimanika Shastra, quote, they are absurdly non-aerodynamic, brutalist wedding cakes, with minarets, huge ornithopter wings, and dinky propellers. I have a feeling that even though 90% of the information that Ancient Aliens presents on Vimanas comes from this text, they realize that it has been thoroughly discredited. And so, in an odd twist, after spending 5 minutes on how great the idea of a Mercury vortex engine would be, they then let everyone know that the idea wouldn't actually work. They stop short, however, of saying that there's anything wrong with this text. They just say that there may have been a problem with the translation of a word or two.
Yeah, that's another thing. These people, like David Hatcher Childress, you're telling us that these things could fly, and you've got all the technical drawings, right? You've got the description of how they work. David Hatcher Childress, can you make one so that we can see them actually fly? Of course not. And why can't he do that? Well, there could have been problems in the translation, and maybe maybe it's not mercury. It could be some other liquid metal. We get excuses for why they can't duplicate these things. No one, friends, will ever duplicate these alleged flying machines. Never.
Flywheel energy storage systems, however, tend to lose power quickly. To navigate across space, its size would have to be enormous.
It's not at all clear that this would be a practical device. Now, maybe the people were trying to describe something that kind of looked like this to them. It might not have actually been mercury. It might have been some other liquid metal.
The Mercury vortex engine is perhaps a failure in the translation.
Yeah, there we have it. It's maybe a failure in the translation. Yeah, maybe the guy who channeled this bullshit fucked it up, right? Maybe the channeler fucked up and it's not mercury. Come on.
Because the vortex is not a material quite suitable to a jet engine.
So let's move on to the mentions of Vimanas in the actual ancient Vedic texts. So, as I've already mentioned, the word Vimana came to mean palace. And when it was the palace of a god, it was usually capable of flying around. When we look at the development of Vimanas chronologically, the mystery surrounding them vanishes. First of all, they were not even mentioned in the earlier texts. And when they finally were mentioned, the next 1,000 years of their being mentioned always...
Here, friends, this is the depiction of a vimana described in actual Vedic texts. And again, they always were chariot-like, they had wheels, and they were propelled by flying horses. They bore zero resemblance to modern flying machines, and especially zero resemblance to modern flying saucers or UFOs.
Included them having wheels and being drawn by horses, not exactly a Mercury vortex engine. Then, around 500 BC, the chariots lose their horses and are depicted as flying on their own. Jason Colavito says the following about the first mentions of Vimanas without horses. Quote, the very first of these is the flying chariot of the earthly king Ravana, called Pushpaka. By the time of the Mahabharata, circa 400 BCE, these flying chariots had grown in size. One was now described as 12 cubits in circumference, but they never lost their large wheels that marked them as derived from earthly, horse-drawn chariots.
Yeah. So again, they're mixing an actual historical, fact. That is what a vimana looked like according to actual Vedic texts. And again, they're not mentioned in 6,000-year-old Vedic texts because there are no 6,000-year-old Vedic texts. They're mentioned in texts from about 500 BC. They lost the horses and sort of became flying palaces of the gods. Again, they bore zero resemblance to the stuff mentioned in the Vaimanika Shastra, this channeled work from the 1950s.
It's also interesting to see that ancient astronaut theorists have to distort the actual descriptions of vimanas in the Vedic texts in order to make them sound like UFOs. For example, the following is a quote from David Childress's book, where he's supposed to be quoting a description of a vimana from an ancient text. We'll read what he tells his readers what it says, and then we will read the actual ancient text and note the differences. First, let's hear Childress's version. Quote, when morning dawned, Rama, taking the celestial car Pushpaka had sent to him by Vibhishan, stood ready to depart. Self-propelled was that car. It was large and finely painted. It had 2 stories and many chambers with windows, and was draped with flags and banners. It gave forth a melodious sound as it coursed along its airy way.
Sounds like flying palace of a god to me, but is his translation correct? Or did he just make it up to fit his narrative?
And now, here's what the actual Ramayana says. Quote, and the mighty monkey ascended the splendid car Pushpaka, containing figures of wolves, made of Kartswara and Hiranya, graced with ranges of goodly pillars, as if blazing in splendor throughout, garnished with narrow secret rooms and saloons, piercing the heavens and resembling Miru or Mandara, and like unto the flaming sun, skillfully reared by Vikwakarma, with golden staircases and graceful and grand raised seats, rows of golden and crystal windows.
And again, this is a description of a flying palace of a god. This bears zero resemblance to a modern flying machine, and even less resemblance to a modern UFO.
And daises composed of sapphires, emeralds, and other superb gems, embellished with noble vidrumas, costly stones, and round pearls, and also with plastered terraces, pasted with red sandal, like unto gold, and furnished with a sacred aroma, and resembling the sun new risen. Calavito says of this, quote, elsewhere it is described as being filled with fruit trees, and sometimes is drawn by geese. Do you know many UFOs with plastered terraces and red paint? In summary, most of what Ancient Aliens uses on this point is from a bogus 20th century channeled text, which they dishonestly present as an ancient text.
Yeah, I have a real problem with channeled information in general. I don't find very much value in channeled information. But it is very, very dishonest of them to conflate this book from 1950s with actual Vedic texts. And again, I have a problem with that because the actual Vedic texts have some spiritual value to, people of the Hindu faith, and doing that and mixing these things up, it's just not right. It's just not right to do that. And it's on the History Channel of all things, right? Way to go, History Channel. You totally destroyed actual history here and presented totally fake history with these fake stories.
And even the real descriptions of vimanas get some tweaking by them in order to make it sound like a UFO. The development of the idea of vimanas in Hindu mythology can be traced easily, and it loses all of its intrigue for the ancient astronaut theorists when you do that.
Yeah, so I don't know what to say, friends. I don't know what to say. We have one more thing that I wanted to show. And again, we're going to cite fair use. Again, Ancient Aliens, producers, the owner of that show, whatever, I'm told, like to copyright strike people who challenge the narratives that they present on their television show. We are educating the public about these things called vimanas. We're educating the public about the false claims that have been made on ancient aliens and on the History Channel show, The Ancient Aliens. This is fair use. I should be allowed to play clips from your show and then critique them, pick them apart, and show people actual factual evidence that the people on this Ancient Alien show are just straight lying to people. So with that, I'm going to again cite fair use, and we're going to play one final clip for my presentation tonight, where they make a model of one of these things. And again, make completely and totally factually inaccurate statements about where they got the information to make the model from. I believe in this clip they claim it's from 1,000-year-old Vedic text. And again, it's straight out of the Vaimanika shastra, from the book from the 1950s that was channeled and more or less proven bogus. It is not an ancient Vedic text at all. The pictures of this flying machine they make a model of came straight out of the Vaimanika shastra. It did not come from any ancient Vedic text, but that won't stop them from claiming that it did. Sounds like a better story if you say it's from a thousands-of-year-old Vedic text, right? Amazing that they can do this. Okay, let's see here. Oh, Vaimanika is, yeah, wait, let me get this queued up, because this one's got to skip the ads here. We don't ever want to play other people's ads. Okay, here, this is great. So this is about a 4-minute video clip. We'll be stopping it along the way to comment on it and to critique the accuracy of the information that they are presenting here. Let's watch this clip, friends. And this will be the last one in my presentation, and then we'll get right to the live chat. But I had to play this one just to show you this is how fast and loose the ancient aliens people are with the facts.
University of California at Irvine, April 2017. Aerospace engineer Travis Taylor has obtained a model of an aircraft whose design specifications are based solely on information gleaned from ancient Indian texts that are believed to have been formally set to writing in 500 BC.
Again, this flying device, did you hear that? The designs were taken from an ancient Vedic text from 500 BC. No, friends, I'm going to show you exactly what the source of these drawings were that they used to create this model. And again, it's from the Vaimanika Shastra from the 1950s. It is not from any text in that is 500 BC. That is a completely and totally inaccurate statement.
He is going to subject it to wind tunnel analysis to determine if it is a viable flying machine.
So, explain to me what we've set up here with that wind tunnel.
Okay, so this is our aerospace vehicle model. It's connected to this boom. The armature has a force gauge on it. We're going to have airflow go past it at about 50 miles per hour or so. And then we're going to measure forces against it to determine if it's going to fly or not.
And so what are the signs that you're looking for in order to...
One of the things that bother me about this is I'd like to see someone else recreate this. If you'll notice, the model of Vimana, right? There's a bunch of different Vimanas in this Vaimanika Shastra book. The one that they choose looks suspiciously to me like a blimp or a dirigible. And there's no wings. There's no tail wing. There's no side wings. There's no flight control surfaces. It looks like a blimp with a propeller at the front of it, right? How the hell this is supposed to fly? And they imply that it could in this section of Ancient Aliens. I want to see somebody else do it that is not associated with Ancient Aliens.
Determine whether this is in fact aerodynamically sound.
Right, so we're going to measure the normal force, and the normal force is up or down. If it starts to move up, then that'll be exciting because it's actually going to be rising, and that's how you get flight. You know, when an airplane turns up and starts to move, it's because it's getting lift. The other thing is I don't want to see it going real bad side to side or real bad chatter up and down, because that would mean it's unstable.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's fire her up and see what happens.
Yeah, let's do it. The flow's coming up.
So here we're going to see the wind tunnel test. And again, yeah, does this look like something that would fly? With no wings. Oh, it does have a tail wing of sorts, but it's just got a little tiny propeller on the front of it. This does not look like a lifting body to me, but I'm not an aeronautics engineer, and this guy that's being paid by ancient aliens to do this test is. So it is what it is, friends.
Speed.
While being subjected to 50-mile-an-hour winds, the craft exhibits a slight lift upwards, yet remains relatively steady.
No side-to-side wobble.
Sensors record the measurements of various forces, as well as torque and pitch, to determine just how aerodynamic the body is.
It looks very stable.
All right, so let's look at the results.
So what happened during the test was the normal force, which is where we measure the lift, it was positive between 0.03 and 0.06 pounds of force. That means we were measuring lift.
Yes, but I checked in with someone who knows a lot more about these type of tests than me, and they say that it is a minuscule amount of actual lift that this thing is supposedly exhibiting in a wind tunnel. Would it be enough for that to fly? I'm told no, but again, I'm not an aeronautics engineer. And one thing I wanted to mention is in another test, ancient aliens took a model made a model from a trinket of sorts that's very famous that was found in an ancient Egyptian tomb, I believe, and that they slapped a propeller on, a model airplane propeller, and that thing flew, but that looked a lot like an airplane. So I'm left wondering, and that test was done before this one, I checked, why didn't they slap an engine on that thing and show us it actually flying? And my guess is they tried that and it wouldn't fly. But that's just my opinion and speculation.
So our vehicle in the wind tunnel experiment was showing positive lift like an aircraft would.
Did you expect these results from a shape that's like that?
Well, the shape looks like a lifting body to me, but you never know until you actually do the experiment. And we have experimental results now that says it is. So that's the exciting part.
And what do you say to anyone who questions the idea that this information has been taken from a text that's at least 1,800 years old?
And again, we're going to show you that model was made from drawings from the Vaimanika shastra, which was from the 1950s. It is not from a text that is 1,800 years old. And George, Mr. Hare over here, is fast and loose with the facts like everybody on Ancient Aliens is, and I just don't get it. Don't they have fact checkers on a major television show with a budget that can go to him and say, you can't say that, that's way not factually accurate at all. It's not factually accurate at all. This model is not made from a text that's 1,800 years old. There's no way, and we're going to unpack that. I'm going to show you exactly where they got the drawings to make that model from. It's from the Vaimanika Shastra from the 1950s.
The only thing you can say is we performed a good scientific experiment, and the results were that the shape made from those texts is a viable aerodynamic structure.
And I would like this aeronautics engineer to show me a working flying model of it. He can't, and he won't. The only way that I could see that specific model flying is if it was a dirigible or a blimp. And yeah, if it was filled with helium, that shape, right? A big helium bag, or, a lighter than aircraft, like a blimp or a Zeppelin, a dirigible. Yeah, that would fly. If anything will fly if you fill it with enough helium, right? And you have a power source in which to propel it. In that way, yes, that would fly. But it would not fly otherwise. It just would not fly otherwise. Now, just bear with me, friends, because I'm going to try to queue up my PDF file here of the Vaimanika Shastra and show you where they got that. Yeah, here we are right here. I'm going to share my screen and show you. It's on page 9 of the Vaimanika Shastra, and you can Google Vaimanika Shastra PDF and get this completely and totally free. And you too can look on page 9 and see where they got that model. And right now we're going to do that. And I'm going to show you that no, it did not come from an 1800-year-old text, George Hare. It came from the Vaimanika Shastra from the 1950s. And here we are, friends. This is where they got the model from. We can see it's got the propeller, it's got the little tail fin, it's exactly shaped just like their model. They can't show me an 1800-year-old Vedic text that has this drawing in it. They just can't do that because it doesn't exist. And this is what we get. We get the conflation, the mixing of all of these different stories together to create a narrative that they already believe. And this is how some of these people operate. They have a they have an idea in mind, and then they go look for evidence that will support the idea that they've already got in mind. This, friends, is from the Vaimanika Shastra, and it's from the 1950s. This is not from an 1800-year-old text. I don't know how they get away with that, especially on something on the History Channel. But we all know that the History Channel, I don't know, I guess when I was younger growing up and when I remember first getting cable, when I first saw the History Channel, I liked it because I like history. So I would watch all these World War II documentaries, and they do a good job on some things. But I think somewhere along the way, they figured out that to get ratings, they had to play real fast and loose with anything that was actually historically factual in order to get views, ratings, and they just started selling these fairy tales. I also, wait, we're going to go back to, how do I get that bigger again? Here we go. We're going to go back to this bigger, and I'm going to, let me see if I can't get this a little bit bigger. Well, yes, I can. There we go. Okay, so here is the Vaimanika Shastra, and here is, some of the so-called flying machines. We have one with 2 floors, and look at the detail on this. Electric powered generator, 2nd floor, 1st floor, pinion, toothed wheel. Does that look like something that would fly? I don't think so. And here's another one. And again, everything that Ancient Aliens talks about, it comes from this book from the 1950s. It does not come from ancient Vedic text. That's a completely and totally factually inaccurate statement. And just to be fair, I have seen 100 people make similar claims about these vimanas. I've heard people at UFO conferences that were giving lectures. And by the way, these were some highly paid lecturers that tell the same fairy tale. They talk about the vimanas and how they were in thousands of year old ancient texts. Look at this gem. It's like an ornithopter too. It has flying wings. And by the way, no device with flapping wings has ever been made to fly to my knowledge. Not one of any size anyway. I remember having a flapping wings. There was these flapping wings toys that were like birds that you wound up when I was a kid. Those were fun. Those actually could fly for a little while, and then they broke almost instantly, right? And I used to get so pissed because those were kind of expensive toys, and I liked flying things. So I would get my couple of bucks allowance, or for a time I was cutting grass when I was a child, and I would go to the toy store with some of that money and buy things like that. It would instantly break. Here we see another one of the vimanas with wings and a tail. This one looks a little more aerodynamic, I have to say. This one I think could probably fly if you took this shape and you slapped a model airplane propeller on the front of it. I bet you that one would fly. Looks a little more aerodynamic than some of this stuff. Now, I wanted to just read you some of the science or so-called science presented in this Vaimanika Shastra book, because once we start reading some of the science explanations of so-called science in this book, it gets really clear that this book is a bunch of channeled nonsense, literally a bunch of channeled nonsense. But I have to say, this book is still kind of fun to read. I'll give him that. And here's some explanation of the text as it was channeled. Okay. Construct aeroplanes of various patterns. Let me get down here. Okay. So here's one point from the science explanation of the science of how these vimanas work. By attracting the 13 kinds of Karaka force mentioned in, Karaka Prakarana, applying snow surcharged air and projecting it through the air conveying tube to the pushpini pendula mirrors in the front right side of the vimana, and focusing on it the Suragabeam, a heavenly damsel bedecked with flowers and jewels, will appear to onlookers of the vimana. That's the science of some of these vimanas. Okay. Oh, this is great. Point number 19. Terra, by mixing with ethereal force 10 parts of air forte, 7 parts of water force, and 16 parts of solar glow, and projecting it by means of star-faced mirror through the frontal tube of the vimana, the appearance of a star-spangled sky is created. Great. Okay. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the beginning here of number 20, but by concentrating the air force in the 7 tubes of the vimana and turning the switch, produce, as stated in the Shabda Prakashaka, a crescendo of thunderous din, which stuns people and makes them quake with fear and become insensible. Okay. Number 23, Chapala, on sighting an enemy plane by turning the switch in the force center in the middle section of the vimana, a 4,087 revolutions an hour atmospheric wave speed will be generated and shake up the enemy plane. This is the science of vimanas according to this channeled work. Oh, here's a great one. Jalada Rupa, by mixing pomegranate juice, bilva or bale oil, copper salt, kitchen smoke, granithka, and Google liquid, mustard powder, and fish scale decoctions, and adding seashell and rock salt powder and collecting smoke of the same solution and spreading it with solar heat, enveloping the cover, the vimana will have the appearance of a cloud. Okay. And this is the kind of science that we get from this work, the Vaimanika Shastra. And again, friends, if you would like to read this, just search for Vaimanika Shastra. I'll try to put a link in the description of the video here. I found it very easily, a free PDF. So it's amazing, friends, how these stories can just be generated by playing fast and loose with the facts, mixing up things that have nothing to do with one another, really. I mean, I don't think this Vaimanika Shastra book from the 1950s has anything to do with actual ancient Vedic text. But that won't stop people from telling you about those vimanas in those ancient texts. It didn't come from the ancient text. It came from a channeled book in the 1950s. And it sort of drives me a little crazy. The number of people that have, told these stories as if they were factually correct. And they're just not. I would really, truly this is again one of those stories where would I like it to be true? Hell yeah, this sounds cool. These ancient Indian people somehow figured out anti-gravity and powered flight thousands of years before the Wright brothers. Would I want to live in that kind of world? Hell yeah, that would be cool. But it's not reality. It's not the reality that we actually live in. And honestly, when I learned the truth behind these vimanas, I was kind of disappointed and upset because I really loved the stories about them in this David Childress Hatcher's book. The one mentioned about anti-gravity I actually have, and he shows a lot of information about these vimanas, and it's stuff I wanted to believe. So it was, to me, this is a great story. Oh my God, there's these ancient texts, and this guy David Hatcher Childress is telling me all about these ancient texts and these ancient flying machines, and there's actual evidence. David Hatcher Childress says these are from thousands of year old Vedic texts. No, they're not. No. The vimanas that all of these ancient alien theorists, UFO people actually mention, again, are from the Vaimanika shastra, which is from the 1950s. It's sad when an illusion, it's a beautiful illusion. And like any illusion, I know a thing or two about illusions. Illusions can be breathtaking. They can be beautiful. They can be intriguing. But the problem with illusions is that they fade. They fade. You cannot keep an illusion up forever. Eventually, the illusion will fade. And in my case, the illusion faded when I actually looked into and tried to find these vimanas in actual ancient Vedic text and wondered, why am I not finding any of these drawings that I keep seeing? Well, there's a reason for that, friends. It's because they don't exist in ancient Vedic texts. They only exist in a channeled book from the 1950s. So, friends, with that, I'm going to turn my total attention to the live chat. I'm sorry to go so long. We went a little longer than I usually would, but I wanted to be sure to cover this subject adequately. This is another one of those, I got to get this off my list of things to do. For quite some time now, I've wanted to do a show on this just to inform the public that this is a fairy tale. The story of the Vimanas are largely fairy tales. And, anybody that wants to argue with me, here's what I'll say. You go get the Vaimanika Shastra. All the drawings are in there, right? The breakdown of how the science of each one of these things works is in there. Make a model and videotape yourself flying that model and send it to me. And I will eat my words, right? Do I think that's going to happen? Fuck no. But, I leave open the possibility that some of those things could actually fly. I told you a few of them look pretty aerodynamically sound. And I bet you there's at least a few that if you made a model airplane sort of, a foam model and slapped the model airplane engine on the front of it, some of them may actually fly, but doesn't mean that they're from thousands of year old Vedic text. It means they're from a channeled book from 1954 when, flying machines were very well known and understood. But it is what it is, friends. It is what it is. Okay, so if anybody has any comments or questions for me, please do put them in all capital letters. I happen to have lost my phone. We were going to open the phone lines tonight, but I think we're already pretty far behind, so we may not do that. Let me see if I can't find something else I lost. 1 second, friends. I really have to clean my office here. Office/studio. This is the one room of the house that my wife refuses to clean. And I don't blame her. We have a pretty big house. And it would take a full-time person just to clean up. I'm a slob. I'm a terrible, terrible slob. God bless my wife for having to deal with me. And then she's got 2 children on top of it, so that's even worse. Carol Utley. Why would Oppenheimer quote, "Now I am the destroyer of worlds"? He believed in all India Sanskrit teachings. I think that I'm not sure that that's a proper translation, or it's incomplete. Like that's only one sentence, and there's several more sentences. Now I am the destroyer of worlds, though, does seem appropriate for someone inventing a bomb that could literally destroy a planet if big enough. William Pixley says, with enough propulsion, almost anything can fly. William Pixley, I completely and totally agree with you. I built model rockets when I was a kid, and I got to tell you, if you want to have some fun sometime, there's something called rocket candy, and it's model rocket engines basically made from stump remover and powdered sugar, right? And I discovered how to make rocket engines when I was a kid out of this. I can't remember the chemical name, but it's in stump remover that you can get at Home Depot. Anyway, I made these huge model rocket engines, and I started slapping them on anything I could. Skateboards, R2D2 models. We shot one R2D2 model up in the sky. Yeah. Paranormal Hood Jiggy, I want a magic show. Yeah, listen, you mentioned that, and one of the things, Jiggy, it's on my list of things to do, but there's problems here. First of all, I used to do magic shows. It's called a stand-up show, and the stand-up show would be, me on a small, tiny stage. I have to figure out how to do it. I have a spare guest room, and I think I have some old backdrops. And yeah, I think for one night we will do that. I can do, but I don't want to do like an hour show because it's way too long. I also thought it would be a good opportunity to show you guys some of my old mentalist tricks. If you like psychic phenomenon, people being able to bend metal with their minds, people being able to control your mind, people being able to read your mind, I think that you guys would enjoy seeing me do some of that stuff. Haven't done it in quite a while. And the other problem right now is just heat and temperature. My house does not have central air, and so I'm always fighting that. In order to do a magic show, I really need a jacket. I wore suit jackets, and there's a reason for that. There's all these pockets, and I have a card trick here, and this trick here, and this trick. So I need the jacket. There's a few things preventing me. I promise I'm going to try to get something like that together just for you guys, and maybe we'll make it. We'll do that as a celebration of a milestone of the show. We're just about. Actually, I'm gonna check right now. I thought we might hit a milestone today, and somebody else told me I have not been watching the actual numbers because I'm trying to ignore the numbers and just concentrate on doing good shows. No, we're just okay. So we're just shy right now of 10,000 views. Maybe as a celebration of 15 or 20,000 views, we're going to do a magic and mentalism show. Yes. Vanessa Thor, magic. Yeah, you guys. Brad Gray says the Indian government scientists check it out and came to the conclusion they are not real. Yeah, basically any aeronautics engineer, and I know one. I know someone who works for Boeing, actually. I asked him to look at these drawings, and he said, this is nonsense. This is nonsense, right? And I said, oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm not an aeronautics engineer. Oh, but by the way, he did agree with me. He said, a few of these that more resemble actual planes may work if you, slap an engine in them. Sure. But some of those ones that look like wedding cakes and stuff, like, these multi-story crazy things, no, those things are not going to fly. Flying cell phones. Well, a really bad one. Yeah, if you slap enough propulsion on something, you slap a big enough rocket engine. I learned that when I was a kid. If you slap a big enough rocket engine on, anything will fly. We, I don't know, we used to just find like old toys. Like we would take like an old X-Wing fighter toy, right? Like an old Star Wars. One time we did a TIE fighter. We just slap a rocket engine on the bottom of it, duct tape it together, light off this rocket engine and run, and these things would fly. And I was fascinated with that kind of stuff. And I was always trying to build bigger and better rocket engines. I I jokingly thought that I could build a big enough rocket engine to actually get me into space. And it's interesting, there is someone attempting to use the same kind of, they're called rocket candy engines. Look it up, rocket candy rocket engines. There is somebody, a group of people, I believe, actually trying to build a rocket that will propel someone all the way actually into orbit, again, out of this rocket candy. And that's amazing to me because I ought to join that group, you know? Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic. Yeah, listen, I don't want to celebrate too early. We're at we're just under 10,000. We're at like 9,700 views. It's still a great milestone. And I'm sure if not after this show, sometime tomorrow we'll hit the 10,000 views. Thank you, Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic, for your congratulations. Thank you for being there. Yes, you would have to custom build the model so the physics are proper. Just shaping them into something else wouldn't be enough. You are probably right. Well, I do have a bit of business that we will take care of in a moment, but let's take some more comments and questions. Dark Ravens says, Sixus, now you have some new schematics. Yeah, get to work, Sixus Designs. I want to see one of these fuckers fly. I like the one that looks like bird wings. I may build that one. And we'll, maybe we could do a part 2 on this, and I will build that and see if it will fly. That one I think would fly. I really, really think it would be fly. Uh-oh. Deviated says, fire up those bot viewers. No, we will never use bots here. And by the way, boy, I don't know if I should even mention this, but someone on my old channel, not me, a guest, used bots on their, in other words, they were on my show. I guess they weren't happy with the organic numbers that my show generated, so they did send bots to my channel. And that, friends, can result in invalid click activity, and you lose your monetization. I am absolutely against bots, and yeah, I will never have that guest again. I don't want somebody using bots on my channel. I'd rather have real organic views. I'm not sure I'm the one to do that. I could probably fake it, though. William Pixley, I knew that was coming. Okay. You can make anything fly. I have taken many women to the moon. I've heard of the Mile High Club. I haven't heard of the Moon Club. Oh, here you go. Sixth Design, how to make sugar rockets. I was obsessed with this as a kid. And you know why? My dad was kind of a hoarder of things, right? My dad was kind of guy that had a garage with like 1,000 shelves, and he saved everything. And I don't know where, but he got tons of jars of stump remover, and that has the chemical in it to make these sugar rockets. And I knew that he had tons of it in the garage, and I could go to the store and get powdered sugar, or tell my mom to get powdered sugar. That's all you need: stump remover, powdered sugar, and you need a heat source to mix it up. And you too can make model rocket engines. I made a ton of them as a kid. Bee Gees, check Twitch, I'm here. Bee Gees with the first comment from the Twitch chat tonight. Thank you for being there. I'm sure it must be a little boring over there, not many people there, but thank you for being one of the people in the Twitch chat. Maybe we could get the Twitch chat going. Yes, Bee Gees is holding the fort down in the Twitch chat, which I am highly appreciative of. Oh, look, you can do cool emojis from the Twitch chat. That's pretty cool. I did not know that. Nice to know. Jeanette Krasenko is here. Shout out to Jeanette Krasenko. Six's Design. I can probably make it happen, but I can also say the physics will only be emulated or close. Mario Heat, release the bots. Let's hope it doesn't come to me having to release the bots. BG says hello from the Twitch chat. Deviated says Edge of Wonder never uses bots. Of course they fucking do. Of course they do. They are botted at the wazoo. Do I believe that thousands and thousands of people want to show up and watch those two idiots? Not really. No, I really don't believe that. Six Design, the engines are expensive. Fun but expensive. D-class engines were my favorite. 12 pound thrust. Wow, yeah. If I purchased model rocket engines. I would always buy the D class. When Six's Design, when me and you were kids, you could buy them. I don't think you can buy D class engines anymore. My son is 4 years old and he likes to build things. He's starting to like to build things. I'm going to get back into model rockets because I have an excuse to with my son. So we'll try to get him a kit. But I think you need a license. Literally, you need a license to buy D-class engines or more powerful engines. I used to get the D-class engines and the model rockets like from Toys R Us, and you build them, you paint them, and then you get that little launcher with the 9-volt battery. It was good fun. And you know what? Later in life, I had a corporate job that I hated. I sat in a cubicle for 15 hours a day some days. And every once in a while, I would take a sanity day and I would go shoot off model rockets just by myself. I didn't even have kids at the time. I felt a little dorky doing that, but there's something about that model rocket shooting off, right? It's just like a tremendous release, feels good. And I would go take a sanity day from my corporate cubicle job that was killing my soul and go shoot off rockets, right? And then the funniest thing is like I literally got caught doing that. I got caught calling out sick, and then somebody saw me in a park near my house shooting off these rockets and told my boss, right? And then my boss called me in his office and said, "What's this shit? I heard you were shooting off rockets yesterday. You told me you were sick." And I was busted. So, I saw the person from my job who saw me. So I couldn't do anything other than I told my boss the truth. I'm like, every once in a while I need a sanity day. I'll tell you the truth. I just didn't feel good. Later in the day I started feeling better and I went and shut off model rockets. Yes, I did. And then the funny thing is he wanted to come and see the rockets, which is funny. Can't get anything that goes bang in Oz. Yeah. Yeah. Dark Ravens, you do need a license to buy stronger rockets. Yes, and getting back into model rockets as an adult, I learned that. Like I went to the hobby store to buy them, and I'm like, "Can I get some Model D engines? I don't see them here." And the guy at the hobby store was like, "Yeah, you can't. You haven't been able to buy those in years, So then I went back to the rocket candy, and made my own that were much stronger. You put a bunch of that rocket candy in like a toilet paper roll, it's much more powerful than a Model D engine that you purchase. But I do have to say that I like to purchase model rocket engines because they were much more reliable. Sometimes with the rocket candy, you just don't get the mix right. Something doesn't go well, and it barely has any thrust. You would have some duds in there. Yes, and Out of Mind is kindly sharing the new Twitch channel that we have. If everyone could go over there, even if you don't have a Twitch account, sign up and become a follower. Follow me on Twitch because we only need like 38 or 37 more followers on Twitch, and I can take some Twitch dollars, which would be great. I'd appreciate that. Can't buy anything that goes bang. Yes. MSMC91 found it. Nice to see you there in the Twitch live chat. Welcome, MSMC91. I'm not sure we've seen you here before, or maybe that's a different user ID. You have a different Twitch ID, maybe. Let me know in the live chat if you have a different user ID in the YouTube chat. Otherwise, welcome, MSMC91. Glad that you found us and are helping to get our live chat going in the Twitch stream. Oh yeah, adrenaline rush of 10 years old. You don't forget it. I will always love aircraft. Yeah, it's fun too. You get to build them, What a prick, the person who dobbed you in. Okay. What a fucking hater to snitch to the bull. I know, right? I know. You know how that's listen, corporate jobs are like high school. Everybody rats on everybody else to get some brownie points with the boss. I hate it working in offices. I really hate it. And I worked in a bunch of cubicle farms. I really did. The one overwhelming selling point, my wife and I had to have a discussion about my autistic son, knowing and realizing eventually that he would need a full-time caregiver. He could not, you couldn't leave him with like a babysitter, a daycare. No way. So one of us had to stay at home to take care of him. I think that's what put me over the edge. It was like, I really don't want to be a stay-at-home dad. But then I thought about my son, and I thought about I'll never have to sit in a cubicle again, right? And that did it for me. That, and I had grand plans of starting a business, which, by the way, I failed miserably at my own business. Well, not incredibly miserably, but yeah, I wasn't. It didn't go as planned. So majorly, I just became a stay-at-home dad and made extra money wherever I could. But now things are starting to change. All this COVID time has been good for me, and I'm refocusing my original business plan, which was to make cool computer stuff, not to fix people's laptops, but to make my own kind of computer, to make my own operating system. And I'm having a great time. There's no revenue coming in from the business, or very little, or almost none. But I'm forging ahead, and we're going to make this new kind of computer. If nobody buys it, that's not my fault. I will do my duty to the universe. I'm telling you, the universe wanted me forever. I believe the universe wanted me to make this strange kind of computer that I'm going to make, and I'm going to do it. And then I will feel like I have. Oh, it's me, Mario Heat. Okay, Mario Heat. Thank you for finding us over on Twitch. There you go. BG says, "Hey Mario, we have way better emojis here." Yes, yes we do. Jinx Brad. Six Design says, "Hey, I will see if my Kerbal Space Program Flying Turkey up." Totally funny. Be right back. Six says, I saw that game, right? And I wanted to try to play it, but I couldn't figure it out. So you got to get with me and tell me, am I just retarded? Well, I shouldn't use that word. Am I just stupid? Apologize for using that word. It's really not good to use that word. I try to just strike it from my vocabulary, but yeah, I must be stupid. Couldn't figure out how to play that game. Yeah, BG's got. Look at that. Look at that emoji. That is awesome. Yeah, the all-seeing eye. Now everybody's trying out the emojis in the Twitch channel. We might get a lot more people interested in the live chat in Twitch because they have cooler emojis. Yeah. Oh, Out of Mind Purple Sky says hello, Twitchers, and that would be, I believe, Out of Mind from our usual live chat has also found the Twitch chat. Can somebody over in the Twitch chat tell me how many people are over in the Twitch chat? Or you know what? I'm gonna try to take a look myself. Twitch, and it's twitch.tv/Truthseekers show. If you too want to check out this Twitch stream that we have going now, and boy, it's always, yeah, Dark Ravens is over there, BG's is over there. I don't know how does it tell me how many people are watching? It does tell me +1 follower. Twitter sounds like druggies. I'm reading some of the stuff in the live chat. I see BG's in the live chat. I see Mario Heat in the live chat. Looks like we have 2 or 3 people in the live chat. But it's good to see. And you know what I will say about Twitch, which is a little surprising to me? I found that Twitch is kind of cool. Like, I'm just learning it, but they have all these milestones, and they're always kind of like congratulating you, like, hey, you've streamed this many hours, you've reached a milestone. And it seems much like they're really trying to encourage you to improve your Twitch channel, to improve your Twitch stream. So far, I am really enjoying Twitch. I didn't think that I would, and I dread it. Like, I have a friend that streams on Twitch. He doesn't have a job. He just streams video games, and he's been telling me for a year and a half, you gotta stream on Twitch. And I looked at it and I went, no, this seems so alien to me. But little by little, we're learning about it. Kerbal Space Program Flying Turkey. Oh my gosh, yeah, anything will fly. Oh, it doesn't start at time about 1 hour in. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I'll have to look at that offline. Oh, if you hover over the screen, it'll superimpose some of your stats. Oh, you know what? I might not even be logged in. That's probably the problem. Oh no, I am logged in. It says online right now. I see the people. Oh, I see that there's 4 people in a live chat, or 5 people watching, and a few people in the live chat. Yeah, so now I guess we're going to have a competition for which live chat everybody wants to join, but it's good to have options. If everybody decides, listen, I get the live chat comments no matter where they come from, Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. So if everybody decides, hey, we want to stream, we want to be in the live chat over at Twitch, maybe that'll become a thing. Who knows? But I'd really like to see if we could have a good, robust amount of live chatters in both the Twitch stream and the YouTube stream. Paranormal Jiggy says the more places you stream, the better. Different people enjoy different platforms. Yeah, I agree with you. And also, listen, I was already paying for StreamYard, and I was only streaming to 2 locations because that's all they let me. When I first purchased this StreamYard, it was like, oh, you can stream to 2 locations for this amount of money that we're charging you. Then StreamYard did some upgrades, and they decided you can stream to 1 additional location for no additional charge. So sure, I'm going to pick one. And I thought that the best one would be Twitch. So that's what we did. We started the Twitch stream, and so far it's going pretty good. I mean, the views aren't great there yet, but it's going to take time for Twitch people to find me there. I do have a few friends that have Twitch accounts, which I emailed, and they became followers. Well, that's another thing I wanted to see if we can see. I don't know how to see number of followers. I'm terrible at Twitch so far. Oh, it gives me the breakdown of who's streaming live right now. I do like that, and you can go through and let me see if we can't. Yeah. So I need 37 or 36 more followers before we could take some Twitch money. And it's better than needing 1,000 like YouTube. We're doing good with that. We're almost halfway through my original goal to get the 1,000 subscribers of YouTube. I'm sure we'll hit some more milestones soon, and we will have a reason to celebrate those milestones. It's the little things. I mentioned, every day I have to show up and water this garden. That's how you make a garden grow. You gotta give some project that you're doing consistent effort, consistent interest, right? And you definitely need that in order to grow something that you're trying to do. Let's see if we can't get the lights a little better in here. There we go. Because I have maybe I'll do this another night because I don't even know how to do this. Oh, here we go. So we're looking for products, right? Products to sell. And so I found something that I thought some of my viewers may be interested in. And this is something that is new to me, but I know a CBD flower farm by chance. And this is their product. And this is CBD flower. It is non-psychoactive. It is a CBD flower, which means this one is one of their strains called Silver Thunder. And this is a CBD flower. And what does that mean? That means that it is highly concentrated CBD flowers. I'll take one out just so you can see. These come in a nice glass jar. This is the 7-gram variety. And it's 7 grams of CBD flower. Let's see if we can't. Gee, I'm sorry, this is kind of last minute. I just wanted to see if there is interest, and it looks like what you would expect cannabis flowers to look like. It smells wonderful. It smells like whatever cannabis flowers you're used to. The same kind of aroma. This one has really musky, earthy smell to it. And again, this is their variety called Silver Thunder. And this is completely and totally legal because there is no THC. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's 0.3% THC. But if you're looking for flower to have the psychoactive high, this is not what you want. But if you like CBD oil and you haven't tried smoking CBD flowers or vaporizing CBD flowers, I don't want to sell tea that makes you shit yourself. That was one of my big advertisers on my previous show. And you can go get the tea, but you're not going to get it from me. So I'm actively looking for products where we can make commercials and we can maybe generate some additional revenue for the show. I want to know, please tell me in the live chat if you would be interested in a product like this that we would offer here on our show. Because if so, I'm going to make that happen. But I don't want to, go invest in some kind of products like this, and then they sit on a shelf here forever and nobody wants them. This 7-gram variety, again, this is 17.8% CBD. So, and I've tried this, and here's what I'll say. I highly recommend this for bedtime. That's my experience with it. This is not going to give you that active, speedy kind of, if you're used to THC flower, cannabis flower. But I feel like I was surprised, actually. I didn't think that this would do much for me. But I found it's really nice, just sort of relaxing, right? It gives you sort of a calming, it feels to me like it releases tension from your body. This is my personal experience. Yours may vary. But I want to sell something that people can actually benefit from. There's all kinds of websites. I'm not going to make any claims. I'm just going to say I enjoy this so far. This is the second one. So I enjoy this, and I think that you may enjoy it too. Is there interest in this kind of a product if we were to offer it on the show? Let me know if you guys think you would be interested in this. And again, this is a 7-gram variety, and this would be, I think the retail is like $55 for this. And that's quite a supply. I don't know how long it would take me to go through this. I guess it depends on how often you use it. But I have been pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed this. I thought it was going to be like decaf coffee for me, right? That's the thought I had. I thought this is going to be like decaf coffee, or like or like diet soda. Like, well, it's kind of like what, but it's missing something. But no, actually, I was pleasantly surprised. Bee Gees have to go, guys. Much love. Yeah. CBD is something they should have legalized long ago. Yeah, I agree with you, Sixes. It gives you, as far as the effects, I mean, I was surprised. And it's a mild effect. It's not very, it's not a super, super powerful, knock you on your ass kind of effect. Just good. Just like, I feel like this is good for just when you want to just unwind and relax but still be able to function very well. Mario Heat wants me to sell Canadian bacon. Oh my God, look at his avatar. Mario Heat, really? You're putting that avatar, I just put that avatar on my show. Thanks, Mario Heat. Thanks, Mario Heat. Great. Just great. Oh, Adam Mine says, I would be interested in helping you promote it. I make CBD THC products, so no need for hemp bud for me. Yeah, maybe you can talk to me off air, Adam Mine, about providing me with some CBD products, but no THC products. We only want to deal with CBD. Uh-oh, Jean-Claude wants me to sell good cock bacon. Nope, not going to do it. Yeah, I came from a generation era of lids. This Gen Z herb is too damn strong. Yeah, also I should mention I'm a big supporter of medical cannabis, and I gotta say that my state is just royally stupid. Um, Let me see, what's today's date? Uh, Today's August 14th. So in my state, Pennsylvania, they give you a medical marijuana card, and you need that card to get into the dispensary. If the card is not active or a good card, they won't let you in any dispensary to buy your medicine. So my card expired yesterday, August 13th. But several days before August 13th, earlier in the week, I went to the dispensary and my card was now listed as inactive. So, yeah, I had once a year you have to get recertified. So I had to go back to a doctor, and, uh, the doctor has to determine that your medical condition still warrants it. And they sort of evaluate how you're doing on the uh, medical cannabis instead of your previous treatments. In my case, my previous treatments were uh, over the counter pain meds that had to be taken so often, they were destroying my stomach. And various doctors over the years have prescribed for me Tylenol, codeine, Percocets, Percodan, all manner of opioids, which people can't function on those things. So in my case, it's been very beneficial. The good news is I had my doctor's appointment today. I gave the state the money, and now I just have to wait for my card to come, um, and I can again get the medicine that I need. And unfortunately for me, I was this week completely and totally out of medicine when I went to restock, and they wouldn't let me in, which is, I have a big problem with the government telling me what medicine I can and can't buy. It's my health, not theirs. And luckily my doctor agrees with me, and was approved again. But now it's just the government red tape until I get a new card, because my card is now expired as of yesterday. Uh, so, well, earlier today. Geez, it's getting very late here, friends, and we're reaching the 2 hour mark, so we're going to have to wrap it up here. A lid is all herb you can fit on a coffee can lid for $10. It was very weak. Yeah, honestly, some of this stuff is way too strong for me. Deviated. I go for the lowest, and luckily for me, it's the cheapest. I go for the Generally I go for the lowest percentage of THC or whatever, and even that's a little too strong for me. It's not like the stuff that we had maybe when we were kids, when we were very young. They're really pumping out high percentage THC and all of this stuff. It's much, much stronger. See you, Pix. Good night, Pix. How much do you get in a lid? I'm Australian. Yeah, I'm not sure. Hail, Corey. Jeanette Krasenko, you lost me. I've helped name new stuff, but you got me on that one. Yes. Well, friends, I think that we are going to wrap things up here. I will skip my usual begging bowl and begging for money, but if you do want to donate, there is an About button on my YouTube channel, and you can click the PayPal donate button or click the Patreon donate button. The Patreon is $1 a month. You get all kinds of goodies, and the PayPal button is just being nice and sending me whatever amount of money that you want, and I will read out and huge thank you. I want to thank everybody that has already donated on Patreon and donated any PayPal funds. I just heard on Paranormal Hood, they were mentioning that certain people never thank their donors. I want to thank my donors every single show. I want to make it a point to have an attitude of gratitude towards all of you who are helping support the show and keep us moving forward. We must always be moving forward to continue in this journey and grow the show. And every dollar contributed really helps with that. So, I literally would not have been able to do this without you guys that have donated, because COVID hit, my income went to near nothing, and I would not have wanted to ask my wife or my family to make sacrifices so that I could do this. But luckily, I saved my Patreon pennies and did a really good job on purchasing some equipment and software that we needed, the backdrop, the lights. Everything that I use here has been generously provided by you, the viewers. And that, to me, it really warms my heart that people care enough that they're going to help me to do this. And all of you are helping, and all of you are, of course, a part of this journey. We're all going to take it together. Six's Design says here the links are in the About section. Yeah, that's how you find a way to send me some money, friends. So, friends, I want to thank each and every one of you truly for joining us tonight. I had a great time tonight. I got something off my list. This Vimana show has been on my list for quite a while. It angers me every time somebody does this with this Vimana story, saying they came from 10,000-year-old text or 2,000-year-old text. No, they didn't, and it bothers me. And I think the public should be educated properly about what the actual source of this information is. It's not from 1,000-year-old texts. It's from a book from the 1950s. I'm glad that we could get this off our list, right? I'm really glad. Okay, friends, so let me find this. Let me find this file that I need to bumper out the show. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion, reminding you that a lie is an illusion, and an illusion simply cannot last. Good night, friends.